Alright, hello there. This is John. You might have clicked this video because I'm going to do a review of the Star Wars Phantom Menace Episode 1. But I'm going to do it while motovlogging, so I hope you're up for a ride. And I'm going to talk through the movie. It's 2019. I just rewatched it. I loved it. Probably more than I ever have. And I just wanted to share with you guys why I enjoyed it and why you should enjoy it as well. So I'm gonna go through the plot as best as I can remember it. I'm gonna talk about common reasons why people didn't like it or still don't like it, and then hopefully you get something out of it. So let's go. But before that, hey, dear Lord, help me stay upright as I ride. Help this content be helpful and just enjoyable for the folks that watch. And just thank you that we get to enjoy wonderful things like Star Wars and bikes and life. All right. Thanks, Lord. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right. So my kids are about the age where I think they can handle Star Wars and not be terrified of Darth Vader and be scarred for life by it. So my son's 6 and my daughter's 4, and I think they're ready for it. I hope they are. So my plan is to this summer to watch episodes 4 through 6 with them, and that is the way that I want them to start. I think that's how anyone should start if they do watch Star Wars, and then from there, after 6, maybe we might do 1 through 3, but just for me, in this next month or two, I thought, hey, maybe I'm going to watch episodes 1 through 3 and try to enjoy it. So I did that with episode 1. And before I go through it, you know, these movies came out a long time ago, but I do want to say just to anybody who's watching this as they think about checking out Star Wars, I just want them to know that there will be spoilers. So, spoiler alert. Hope you, you know, if you haven't seen Star Wars yet, just go watch episodes 4 through 6, then watch episode 1, then come back to watch this video. You should be able to handle that in about a 24-hour period. Just kidding. So let's get into it. Star Wars Episode 1, the opening crawl. It starts with diplomacy and governments and trade blockades and economics. And for a lot of people, this was kind of weird. But for me, as a fan of economics, as someone who, you know, relatively closely follows American politics and to some extent global politics, this was interesting to me, and I was compelled by the story. George Lucas, when he first wrote and created Star Wars, he was inspired's not the right word, but he was definitely influenced by the previous generation before him, specifically Jews that were impacted by the Holocaust. So those themes of evil, penetrating government, taking over, and harming innocent people. That was a lot of what Star Wars was about, and a big theme within that is good overcoming evil, hope, and so that's kind of what Star Wars is about, like overcoming evil against all odds. So we see that here in Episode 1. A lot of people thought that was weird, but the whole trade blockade, the Trade Federation, them having influence and paying the senators, and how the Chancellor didn't have much power because of the bureaucrats. I get how that could be weird for your typical Star Wars fan, but I just thought it makes a good story. You just have to see it for what it is. And if you have this attitude like, hey, why aren't we doing space battles? I think there's just more for you there if you want to think through that and really try to ask yourself how a peaceful, good people that get along as a global republic, how could they ever ruin that and turn to evil? And it has to do with bureaucracy, when people fight and get used to fighting each other, and there's gridlock and nothing gets done. That's a big way, pathway towards evil getting power, and we see that in this movie. And I thought it was just really wise and good writing, because I don't know, a lot of people are frustrated with our American government because there is a lot of tribalism and left versus right and fighting, and all the while it's not like it's benefiting people. Maybe that was a little too much about politics. Sorry about that. So that's the backdrop, is there's just like this political system where the Jedis are coming in. And another thing I'll say is that, man, this movie starts at a really cool time. When they planned out how they were going to write the prequels, I think they did a good job of picking like their entry point. They decided, let's pick this time before Obi-Wan has met Padme. It's a time before Anakin knows Obi-Wan. There's still a lot of relative peace. The Emperor is nowhere near in power. The Sith are completely hidden. The Jedi Council rules. It's just it's good. You see all the cards are set for everything to topple over across the three movies. So it's not like it's starting in the middle of it, and I think this is why it's a good thing that Anakin Skywalker was not a teenager like I think they had originally thought about doing. He starts as this idealistic and happy boy with so much hope in front of him. So it just makes the whole character arc of Anakin more interesting to start this early with this wide-eyed happy boy saying, now this is Podracing. Which, by the way, I have right there on my helmet. Because I think it's funny, and I like to compare riding a motorcycle to piloting a Star Wars ship. I'm a Star Wars! So you see Palpatine is kind of living his double life where he's talking to the Trade Federation, and he's this like master puppeteer, like behind the scenes, making everything go his way so he can take power. And then he's talking to the Trade Federation. He's got Darth Maul that he introduces. So it's neat to see from the very beginning, you do see that the Emperor's there, but he's hidden from the people. Throughout the whole thing also, one of my favorite things about Star Wars is the mentoring that happens between Jedis. You know, we first saw it between Obi-Wan and Luke, and we saw it between Yoda and Luke. And then we absolutely see it more, and even more so, you see it in the prequels between Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, and then Anakin. And you see it between Qui-Gon and Anakin as well. So he's just like, they're these people that understand the Force, they rule and they do good, and they help others to do the same. I feel like that's just such a nice view of the world to have. Alright, so the Jedi, the negotiations don't work, and they land on Naboo, and they meet our best friend, Jar Jar Binks. Jar Jar was one of the most talked about, criticized, and hated thing about Episode 1. And if you haven't watched the original series lately, if you haven't watched the original trilogy lately, like, just look at C-3po. C-3po is annoying, he's bumbly, he's dumb. He's not dumb, but like, he just doesn't get things. There's that humor of like robots not understanding social situations. And Jar Jar is very similar. Maybe he's a little bit more annoying, but he's very similar to C-3po in the original trilogy. Just go back and watch if you don't believe me. I actually really like Jar Jar as a character. He serves this purpose of showing like what goodness looks like in the Star Wars universe, innocence and goodness. He's not like, you know, he's not, by no means a great warrior, and he kind of exists for comic relief when he's on the battlefield of Naboo. But you know, he was a key part. Like, he was a key part of Padme's plan. Of how he was going to bring the Naboo people together with the Gungans, and he really acts like an ambassador, which is interesting how that kind of continues to play into his story, how he becomes like, you know, an elected official of his people or whatever, and maybe he's Darth Jar Jar, I don't know. Man, these roads are wet and a little muddy, and I'm just trying to get by, but this is good, fun riding. I'm not leaning it over too much just because of the non-ideal situations. Anyway, back to Star Wars. So they meet Jar Jar, and they lead them to the Gungan city. Not too much to comment on there. It's just a good subplot, and they're stuck there, and now they have to leave, and now they end up on the fateful planet of Tatooine, where so much happens in Star Wars. And they find Anakin, and he's like this, you know, bright, talented boy, and he said, like, you know, there's no way I would have lasted this long if I wasn't able to build things. And he's just so skilled. He made C-3po, he made his pod racer, and his skills, his talents, his force sensitivity as a pilot, they're all a crucial part of the story. So I think they did a really nice job of, like, just kind of putting it all together in a way that's watchable and exciting, and it just ties all up into a nice story. I did enjoy the pod racing, and I think that was a cool part, because, again, it's just all about showing you who Anakin is. This is not about who Darth Vader is. This is introducing you to this boy of Anakin Skywalker. You can see that he's like this happy, idealist kid that doesn't know anything about how dark the world is. He wasn't trained from a young age to be a Jedi, so he's like not set up for success. He's like more talented than he knows what to do with, and he really loves his mom, and that's the only person who's ever really loved him. So he's just not set up for a successful life, and you see that even with the happiness, even with like his innocence, and such a tragic and sad story. And I hope you see in him the good that I see in him, and how sad it is. And I hope you see the same good that Luke saw in him, in his father. And that's part of what all brings the whole Star Wars story together, is that Anakin kind of, he does get redeemed at the end of the story. He doesn't stay like this great evil for the whole movie. I really like the character of Qui-Gon Jinn, because, you know, Obiwan makes the comment, you know, you should be a master, you should be on the council by now, but you don't obey the Jedi code. And that's like a really neat thing about Qui-Gon, is he's like, I value being connected to the Force more than just doing what all the other Jedi say I should. Which actually ends up being a really, bad thing, I guess, because of Anakin becoming Darth Vader, but he is connected to the Force, and the Jedi this whole time are not seeing how there's a plot to overthrow the whole government, and how all the people they're watching over as Jedi Guardians are all going to be like enslaved, and they don't see it. But I think Qui-Gon would have been more aware of it, more aware that there's Sith out there. So they make their way to Coruscant. We first see the Jedi Council. We see them meeting. We see Yoda, and I mean, those are just great scenes, right? That's the stuff we wanted to see when we thought Star Wars. Like, what did it look like before? Like, what was Yoda like before he was, like, exiled on Dagobah? And we see Padme now functioning, not just as a girl that shoots guns and escapes, not just as, like, a princess or a handmaiden that hides. Now you see her addressing the Senate, and she has some authority. She is a lot like her daughter, Princess Leia, who's like one of the most beloved women and characters in cinematic history, because she's not a damsel in distress. Like, she's tough. She's a military strategist, as we'll see in the Battle of Naboo at the end. Padme's just a really well-written character. I liked her a lot. I thought Natalie Portman did a great job. Was there some better acting that could have been desired? Like, perhaps, but, you know, you could say that Mark Hamill didn't do a great job acting as Luke Skywalker, but the story kind of transcends the need for, like, perfect acting. That's what makes me a Star Wars fan, is the story, and this one, for me, it has it. An interesting part of the story is how Palpatine, everything kind of goes his way. He's this dark Sith. He controls and manipulates people. And the person he struggles to handle is Padme. He says, like, this is not like her, this is too aggressive. Or, he almost kind of foils her plan on Naboo. He wants the sympathy vote, he wants everybody to die so he can take power. His plan actually still continues to work, and he becomes the Chancellor. But you can tell, like, there was tension there, and it was the one person that kind of wasn't under his evil thumb was Padme, which I thought was cool. One thing you might not have liked about the movie was Darth Maul dying. Man, maybe he didn't die, according to canon, but you didn't see him again for episodes 2 and 3, and he was just a really cool bad guy. I mean, it's just, you make a really cool bad guy that's like smart and fierce and scary and intimidating with a cool fighting style. It's sad to see him go, but you know, he serves a really interesting purpose in that, you know, he kills off Qui-Gon, and we see Obi-Wan kind of take over, and we see Obi-Wan conquer him in a, you know, in a lightsaber battle. So, man, I mean, you know, I wish we could have gotten more of him, but what we got of Darth Maul was good and cool. All right, going down a hill there into an intersection with wet grounds. Not a perfect situation for a motorcyclist, but we're getting through it. And a lot of what is important as a motorcyclist is the ability to see the future before it happens. It's a Jedi trait. No, you got to be able to adapt and make changes. And I'm glad I entered that turn the way I did. There was cars coming at me both ways. Another car that wanted to turn. Now I have to slow down a little bit because of this wetness here. Man, I just enjoy motorcycling. It does remind me of, it does make me think of like piloting something. Whoa, definitely lost traction there. Woo! Yeah, you can see this dirt and stuff all over the roads here. Alright, I might have to just pay more attention to riding here because this is definitely not ideal situation. I thought the Battle of Naboo was compelling and interesting. You kind of have to buy into these aliens, the gun folks. You know, it's a little cartoonish. It reminds you of the Ewoks a little bit from Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. You know, it's what you're watching is not some super high adventure. You're not watching Call of Duty. You're not watching like Game of Thrones. You're watching a movie that's made for families. So I actually really like the dynamic between the gun and the Naboo people because it shows you a small picture of what things are supposed to look like the ideals of the Star Wars universe. You know, the guns and Naboo, they join and they band together to overcome evil. So underneath this whole dark phantom menace of a subplot that the Sith are taking over the world, what you have here is this nice story of, on one planet, good coming together and overcoming evil. So I thought that was neat. I liked how you saw Padme go before the bosses and, like, you know, plead with them for their help. Like, they were their only hope. And, you know, it was cool. And I liked that scene. Hey, if you like this content, you like riding around with me, I appreciate it. You can go ahead and subscribe. I'll give a shout out to Jim. Jim recently reached out to me and, you know, kind of let me know that he liked my content, and we chatted a little bit about him and his new bike. So, you know, I just appreciate folks, you know, watching, giving me feedback. That's important for me as a new creator here. It is helpful for me, and I do appreciate it. And I make these videos not really just for myself. I really want somebody to watch them and enjoy them. So, yeah, if you're enjoying this, like, hit subscribe. Give me a like and a comment about what you thought, how you disagree or agree with me on Phantom Menace. If this makes you want to go back and watch it again, like, that would be really cool to hear. And I hope you do watch it again because it's good. Alright, I hope you're ready for this. This is going to be a little funny, a little weird. So, to you subscribers out there who follow and, you know, you guys that leave comments and appreciate my videos, you know what it tells me about you? I'm going to try to do my impression of Boss Nass here. You should not be thinking you are better than riding with John. Misa like this. Misa thinking we're gonna be friends. Alright, now I'm back to that part I was at before where I'm going to try not to die, where there is dirt and water and all kinds of junk in the road, as well as sharp turns and gravel. All part of an exciting motorcycle ride is what I say. Did I cover everything? I hope I covered everything. You know, the gun battle at the end with like Anakin going into the droid control ship and shutting it down, like, it's really far-fetched, right? Someone might say you have to check your brain at the door to enjoy that kind of action, but you know what? Like, that's Star Wars, right? Like, what are the chances that this like ragtag group of rebels is going to overcome this whole evil empire? You know, it's just a great part of the story. So you take it for what it is, the boombas and all those things that the Gungans use. You know, just realize you're not watching Game of Thrones or, you know, John Wick, and I think it'll be an enjoyable movie for you. I think that's it. The lightsaber battles were really good and exciting. We didn't see a whole lot of Obiwan piloting a ship or a lot of flying, but we get that in the next ones. Yeah, so not too much more to say. Like Yoda picking up the lightsaber, that'll happen again in episode 2. But Phantom Menace, it leaves you at a really good point, because you can, oh gosh. Whew. You know, you see Palpatine coming into power. You see Anakin, that he is going to be trained. He becomes a Padawan. He gets the Jedi haircut, so you know it's all beginning. And then Obiwan is taking him on. So I'm trying to like harken back to those days when I hadn't seen episode 2 and 3 yet, and it just leaves you at a really cool point where you kind of wonder what's going to happen and how it's going to go down between Obi-Wan and Anakin. So I thought episode 1 was a fantastic movie. For folks that didn't enjoy it, I'm sorry. I hope you can find a way to enjoy things in life. I'm trying to find a way to enjoy Last Jedi. You've heard me talk a lot about the things I love about Star Wars, and those things I love about Star Wars just really aren't in The Last Jedi, and makes me a little sad, but I'm trying to just accept it for what it is. I am going to go see the Rise of Skywalker, and I hope that's good. But anyway, if you could maybe give me some insight on that, like how I can enjoy The Last Jedi and the rest of this trilogy, that would maybe help me out. So that's going to be it, folks. Hey, thanks for watching. I know this was probably a long one, so thanks for sticking around. Let me know what you thought about Star Wars Phantom Menace. Like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. Otherwise, may the Force be with you. Man, that was some technical riding there. I lost traction a couple times. That was good. Now this is pod racing.